Hi guys, so you may have noticed that my background is different to what it normally is, and the reason for that is the biggest part of this update, which is the fact that I've actually sold my flat. So in the last financial independence update that I did, I said that there was something that I couldn't really tell you about yet and that I would do another update when I can. And essentially that was the fact that I'd sold my property, but because it hadn't all finalised yet, I didn't want to jinx it or talk about it, only to then go back on it. So now it's all completely finalised and I actually moved out last week, which is just crazy. So essentially I've sold my property to free up the equity from it so that I can use it for the house build in July. So again, if you watch the last updates, you will know that I've booked the builders for July next year and I need to pay them somehow. So considering a lot of my cash is currently in my company and not just readily available to use, I needed the cash from my property. The second reason I sold it now rather than when I was ready to go was because I didn't want to have that stress of, you don't know what's going to happen. When my parents were selling their house, it took them like 9 months to go through the process. And when my uncle was selling his, again, it took him like 6 to 8 months. And pretty much everyone I've known has taken a really long time. And I didn't want to have to go through that when I was like ready to go there and then. So I thought if I put it up early, then, I won't have that stress. And I got an offer really quickly and we managed to go through the process really quickly as well. So essentially wrapped up the whole process within 3 months, which is just crazy. I am currently staying with a friend for a bit and then I'm going to go to Poland for a bit and then I'm going to see how it goes. It all depends on the money. I'm still waiting for that quote in terms of how much it's actually going to cost. Obviously, all my costings are currently based on like a best guess estimate, but like I've previously mentioned in videos as well, building materials and builders have gone up in price. So depending on what happens and depending on my income situation, in terms of side income, etc., because obviously I know how much I'm making from my main job, but in terms of how quickly I can get extra money and how much it's going to cost, we'll see what happens in the new year. So talking of numbers, let's actually go into the numbers. So I haven't actually done a numbers update since June. And I have made a little bit of money on the sale of the property. Unfortunately, most of it was eaten up by selling costs, but anyway, let's look into the numbers. So the first thing to mention is another big milestone that I've hit, and if you follow me on Twitter, you would already know this, but I actually hit £100,000 net worth recently, which was a huge deal for me. I just can't believe that I've gone from being so much in debt to having £100,000 net worth. It's just crazy. But yeah, having said that, let's actually look at the numbers. So as you can see here, out of the 75,000 that I need for the house builds, which I've dropped from 76, so it may end up being 76, but having updated the numbers a little bit in terms of the project and how much it cost and everything else, I've made it 76. But again, these are just forecasts right now. But I actually have £72,207. So that is 96.3% of the way there. And it means that I only need a further £2,790 to be able to do all of the initial building stuff. So essentially everything other than kitting out the place inside. So things like furnishings and flooring and fencing and stuff like that. But the main build, I'm only less than £3,000 away from, hopefully, unless they massively come back with a hugely different price, which fingers crossed they won't, because within this number I've built in a massive contingency fund. So as long as it doesn't go above that, then we should be okay. Nothing has changed in terms of the pole move and the house build later fund. So with the pole move, we're still waiting for them to move it and it's really annoying, but it shouldn't affect the build also, I'm told, so we'll see what happens there. And then emergency fund, I've put £100 in there. It's not a lot, but I like to think that there's something in there. But as you know, I'm focusing all of my efforts on just putting money into the house build fund. I get asked this question a lot as well, in terms of where I'm keeping the money. So before, most of it was actually held up in the equity of the property, so I couldn't do very much, and the remainder of it was basically in the highest interest savings accounts that I could find. So, you know, things like Marcus before they dropped their rates, and there's Aldermore Bank as well. That's for the business savings and stuff like that. And then now that I've had all this equity freed up from selling the place, I've put it into premium bonds because, you know, the interest rates are almost negligible anyway. And with premium bonds, you then get the opportunity to win money every month. So most people I know win something at least every couple months. And I think that ends up being more than what I'd earn in interest. And you get the chance to potentially win like £1 million as well. So that's what I've done. And then in terms of investments, it is almost £21,000, which is about 21% to my initial goal. And that's gone up by about £3,000 since the last update. So all in all, you can see here that out of the 206,000 that I need, I'm £106,000 of the way there. That doesn't make sense, but you know what I mean. So about 51.5% there. And that is for everything, including the finishing touches and the investments, etc. But obviously the most exciting thing to me is that I'm 96% of the way to actually having my own house fully paid off. It's just crazy. So yeah, that's basically my quick financial independence update for you guys. Like I said, I did promise to do these regularly, and I wanted to hold off until I sold and everything was complete to do this and to tell you guys. So yeah, that is it for today, and I will see you next time. Bye.